Hello everyone, my name is Prajwal Chauhan and I'm working as a legal intern with Lexis and Company for the month of July. The topic for this video is vicarious liability in torts. Generally, a person is liable for his own wrongful acts and one does not incur any liability for the acts done by others. In certain cases, however, vicarious liability, that is the liability for one person for the act of another person, may arise. In order that the liability of a A for the act done by B can arise, it is necessary that there should be a certain kind of relationship between A and B, and the wrongful act should be in certain way connected with that relationship. The common examples of such a liability are liability of principal for the tort of his agent, liability of partners of each other torts, liability of the master for the tort of his servant. So vicarious liability deals with cases where one person is liable for the act of others. In the field of torts, it is considered to be an exception to the general rule of a person is liable for his own acts only. It is based on the principle of quis facit per se, per allem facit per se, which means he who does an act through another is deemed in law to do it himself. So, in a case of vicarious liability, both the person at whose behest the act is done as well as the person who does the act are liable. Thus, employers are vicariously liable for the torts of their employees that are committed during the course of employment. Now, let's take a look at reasons for vicarious liability. Several reasons have been advanced as a justification for the imposition of vicarious liability. First is the master has the deepest pocket, the wealth of a defendant, or the fact that he has access to resources via insurance has, in some cases, had an unconscious influence on the development of legal principle. Second, vicarious liability encourages accident prevention by giving an employer a financial interest in encouraging his employees to take care of the safety of others. As the employees make a profit from the activities of his employees, he should also bear losses that those activities cause. In the words of Lord Chelmsford, it has long been established by law that a master is liable to third person for any injury or damage done through the negligence or unskillfulness of a servant acting in his master's employ. The reason of this is that every act which is done by servant in the course of his duty is regarded as the act done by master's order and consequently is the same as if the master's own act. Now, the obvious question here could be what constitutes a vicarious liability? Like, who will be liable vicariously in any offense? So, the constituents of vicarious liabilities are first, there must be a relationship of a certain kind. There has to be a relationship between any of the examples like principal or agent, there has to be a relationship between the two. Uh, Second point is the wrongful act must be related to the relationship in the certain way. This is very self-explanatory. There has to be any some relation to the act and the principal agent relationship. There has to be some connect between them to to constitute vicarious liability. The third point is the wrong has been done within the course of employment. The wrong by the agent or servant has to be done in the course of employment which has been assigned by the principal or the master in the case of servant. Now let's take a look at servant and independent contractors in vicarious liability. A servant and independent contractor are both employed to do some work of the employer, but there is a difference in the legal relationship which the employer has with them. A servant is engaged under a contract of service, whereas an independent contractor is engaged under contract for services. The liability of the employer for the wrongs committed by his servant is more onerous than his liability in respect of wrongs committed by an independent contractor. If a servant does a wrongful act in the course of his employment, the master is liable for it. The servant, of course, is also liable. The wrongful act of the servant is deemed to be an act of master as well. The doctrine of liability of the master for act of his servant is based on the maxim respondeat superior. which means let the principal be liable. And it puts the master in the same position as if he had done the act himself. It also derives validity from the maxim qui facet pers elim facet per se, which means he who does an act through another is deemed to do it himself. Since for the wrong done by the servant, the master can also be made liable vicariously, the plaintiff has a choice to bring an action against either or both of them. Their liability is joint and several as they are considered to be joint tortfeasors. For the liability of the master to arise, the following two essentials are to be present. First, the tort was committed by the servant. Then, second, the tort was committed in the course of his employment. A servant is a person employed by another to do work under the direction and control of master. As a general rule, master is liable for the tort of his servant, but he is not liable for the tort of an independent contractor. It therefore becomes essential to distinguish between the two. Now let's take an example here. My car is uh, Now let's take an example here. My car driver is my servant. If he negligently knocks down X, I will be liable for that. But if he hires a taxi for going to railway station and a taxi driver negligently hit X, I will not be liable towards X because the driver is not my servant, but only an independent contractor. The taxi driver alone will be liable for that. Now, there is a test of control to know that there is a relationship where one is superior or principal in that relationship. A master is one who not only prescribes to the workman the end of his work, but directs or at any moment may direct means also retains the power of controlling the work. The traditional mode of stating this distinction is that in case of servant, the employer, in addition of directing what works the servant is to do, can also give directions to control the manner of doing the work. But in case of an independent contractor, the employer can only direct the what work is to be done, but he cannot control the manner of doing work. Thanks a lot for listening patiently. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel.